causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
We are moving very, very quickly into an age when nothing will be touchy-feely. It'll be done by computer.
To automatically capture and verify an individual at point of sale has long been the dream of many.
It'll be done so that you can extract information off people's bodies, and it'll be done for very good, very practical reasons, for security, for protection of an individual's identity, and so on.
It took some 20 years for the computer to come into general use by our citizenry. It took about 5 years for the fax, and I suspect that some of these newer devices are going to take even shorter time.
From our Prophecy Research Complex, here are Peter and Paul Lalonde.
Hello, I'm Paul Lalonde, and welcome to this special update on the Mark of the Beast. As you probably know, this ministry has established itself as the leading authority in documenting the way in which modern technologies make the fulfillment of this prophecy possible. We subscribe to every leading electronic banking newsletter. We regularly meet with many of the people responsible for the efforts to build the necessary global infrastructure. And of course, we attend most of the seminars and trade shows.
And in the next 90 minutes or so, we're going to examine the movement towards a cashless society. We're going to look at the smart card and the many different types of personal identification systems that can, according to planners, make the system secure. You're going to see demonstrations of electronic fingerprint readers, hand scan machines, and even the microchips that are already being implanted under the skin of animals all over the world. We're going to look at the size and power of government databases and the threats they pose to freedom and liberty. We're going to talk about smart highways, highways that can track the location of every vehicle and driver at a moment's notice. We'll discuss the way in which planners hope to merge these developments with the current drive towards a new world order. And finally, we'll take a very close look at what will ultimately turn all of these leading-edge technologies into the Mark of the Beast. You know, but if we have any hope of achieving any of these lofty objectives in the next 90 minutes or so, Paul, we'd better get right to work.
When we really first began to study the movement toward a cashless world in the late 70s, it was clear that while the technology was quickly coming online, the greatest challenge for the builders of the electronic age lay in getting people to accept such a system. Since that time, the technology has exploded, and people are becoming more and more open to the idea of electronic banking.
Teller machines are very convenient, and it only takes minutes to use them, and you'd be out of there as soon as possible.
You could just bring the card with you, so it's much easier.
With automated tellers, I don't have to spend the time in the bank because I used to do my banking in the evenings.
Actually, automated teller machines, personally, because I bank at like 7:30 in the morning or in the evening or whenever I want to. Plus, there's usually no lineups.
I almost entirely use banking machines only.
I generally use automated teller machines because I find them convenient. I find them, they're not moody, but so they're easy to use and they're much more convenient for me.
And while the rush to electronic services grows, there's no question that cash is the last great dinosaur of a bygone era. Paul Shantz is a senior manager with one of Canada's big 5 national banks.
There's no question, I'm a banker, and it used to be that we were in a very cash-driven society, a very paper-oriented society. Today, anybody will tell you, anybody that is in business will tell you that not only are credit cards inefficient, paper's inefficient, anything that moves physically is inefficient.
What's on the horizon? To answer that question, This Week in Bible Prophecy interviewed dozens of experts and even sent a research team to Washington, D.C. to attend the 1993 Card Tech Secure Tech Conference, organized under the telling theme, Solutions for the Global Frontier. The conference gathered bankers, card developers, biometric engineers, and computer experts from all over the world. All agreed, cash as we know it is old news. Henry Dreyfus is the president of Dreyfus Associates and a founder of the Smart Card Industry Association. He spoke to us about the newest product that is about to take this country and the world by storm. It is called the cash card, or the prepaid card.
Sure. Cash cards are a replacement for cash. You think of 1,000-year-old technology, which are dollar bills, $5 bills, coins, and other forms of exchange of media. What we've done is looked at putting that onto a plastic or other paper-type card.
The principle of a prepaid card is simple. You just go to a card dispenser and buy a card that has a set dollar value stored within it. Each time you use the card, the appropriate amount is electronically deducted from the card until no value remains. Then you simply buy a new card. Today, you can buy separate cards for just about anything, from train tickets, parking meters, telephone tolls, to buying newspapers or cans of soda. No digging for change, no coins given back to you, just a simple, clean, safe, and cash-free way to conduct your normal business day to day.
We've been a society of credit. 2 out of 3 Americans owe money on their credit cards at any one time. We're looking at prepayment becoming more and more established in this country. We're going to have 9 million prepaid telephone cards. Last year, there was only about 100,000 of those. Next year, it'll be in the 20 to 30 million.
The question that has often been raised about the cashless society was, how were you going to deal with small transactions like buying a newspaper or paying a toll? It would appear that the simple prepaid cash card technology provides a clue. Already, the U.S. manufacturers who produce 90% of the world's parking meters have begun to switch from coin access to card access. Moreover, the conversation at the CardTech SecureTech conference was already focusing on how prepaid card applications for the smaller purchases could be merged with smart card technology to provide one card that could serve both purposes. David Chom is the chairman of the European Community CAFE system. CAFE stands for Conditional Access for Europe and is a cashless system that is 2 years away from testing.
The scope of the project is really intended to encompass all kinds of credentials and everything from medical to driver's license and the whole range of the idea is that everything that you have in your wallet today would be replaced by some kind of electronic form. So another name for the CAFE project is Electronic Wallet Project.
We're going from a situation where today we have a whole lot of single issuer, single application cards, okay? And the trend that we could definitely see towards the future is that we're going to be moving towards multi-application cards, multi-issuer cards.
Ever since we have been talking about the cashless society, as you mentioned, from the late 1970s till now, there has been no question that virtually everyone is in agreement cash has to go. Cash is a huge problem that stands in the world's way of moving towards a global community right now, and there's all kinds of reasons for it. Think of it if you got rid of cash. The number of robberies and burglaries and violence that goes on out there for people to steal other people's cash. If it is a computerized society, you can't go out and steal someone's numbered bank account the same way that you could.
Well, the entire black market would be completely wiped out. We've talked before about the drug dealers who are running back and forth across the borders with big suitcases full of non-sequential $20 bills. That would all be wiped out too, because you can't really have it all recorded on computer. Yes, I gave Juan Gonzalez $30 million. And received nothing in return.
That's Juan Gonzalez. The other interesting thing here is that by getting rid of cash, you also do something else. People can't cheat on their income taxes anymore. And this is a major point, because all of the money that goes in and out of your personal account, the only money you have access to, is going to be digitally recorded, so therefore your tax return can be checked at any time. The U.S. government is talking in terms of saving billions and billions of dollars to go towards this technology. And in a day where deficits are so great that nation states stand on the brink of collapse, in a day when cash money, we've already heard the quote that anything that is handled physically now is out of mode with the times. It's out of the way of the times in which we live in now. You need things to be done electronically and immediately, and there is no way for this kind of cheating. Something else we mentioned, Paul, and this is something we have observed over the years. The technology has been largely in place for a number of years. Now, I want to talk about the smart card more in this program. I want to talk about cash cards, because technology is evolving. It's not that we have the same technology we had in the 70s. We have superior technology. But the problem is not with the technology, because technology only evolves as quickly as money is funneled into it. And if the people who are working on developing this system, bankers and so on, don't see that there is acceptance for their system, they're not going to be pumping in as much money to try to bring the system along as quickly as they otherwise. So the technology could have come along more quickly than it has. What has held us up are attitudes. When automated teller machines first showed up in the early 80s, the late 70s, and began to be in, subway stops, and you would see them on telephone poles and outside the branch of the bank that you would deal with, you could notice an amazing trend. That if you stood in your bank branch where they had both the human teller and the automated teller machine, it would be all of the younger folks lined up at the automated teller machine. They're used to dealing with computers now and so on. And all the old people, 35, 40 years old, they're not used to a new system like this. They were tending more towards the human teller. Now in the last 10 years, all of society, first of all, you've had 10 or 15 years for the society to age. The people who are comfortable with computers and machines now make up a larger percentage of the population. So you can see definitely a change in attitude now that people are very open to this kind of technology. In fact, one of the things we're going to talk about in a few minutes is we were amazed just how open people were to it. There's no fear whatsoever of the kind of data that can be gained and so on.
Well, that's right. I remember interviewing people for the first Marck of the Beast video outside of bank teller and an ATM machine in Niagara Falls. And we were seeing that exact trend. The older people were coming up and saying, I like to deal with a human, I don't trust these machines. And then you'd talk to young people, 17, 18, 19, even 20 years old, who had never been inside a bank. They deal strictly with the Johnny Cash machine, I think they're called, outside the bank.
In Canada here, that's right.
And so when you see these people, the one advantage that the purveyors of this system have is it's the old people who oppose it, meaning the people who oppose it are dying off. And that's just...
to put it very, very bluntly.
To put it bluntly, it's not nice to think about, but it is nonetheless reality that the people who oppose it are dying off, and the people who favor it are now becoming the bulk of the population.
That's right, that's right. It was interesting, the one fella who said, I like an automated teller machine, they never get moody at you, and it's sort of true. Now, another thing that we've just pointed out, and something I'd like to stress before we really get rolling along on this video, because we still have so much to cover. It's quite exciting, actually. One of the questions we always had, my wife Patty, who does a lot of the research on these topics, the background and so on, the thing that was the perceptual problem to this system was the fact that you're telling me you're going to set up automated teller machines everywhere, so there'd be no cash at all?
In a phone booth?
Yeah, in a phone booth. You're going to have to put your credit card in, have it hook up with some central database somewhere that's going to take the 75 cents out of your account, move it over to the account of the phone company. You're going to spend all that money. It doesn't make sense. You got buses, you got parking meters, you've got, what if you go in to buy some candy in the store, or you just want to grab a pop? You're going to try to access a central database.
It'll end up costing you $1 to move 75 cents.
Exactly. And so this was, how are you going to build a system that can cope with this? And this was one of the logical explanations. But I think you've heard a little bit of what the plan is here now. It's the concept of the cash card. And one of the quotes you just heard in that piece that Paul did was one of the fellows talking about the fact that they're going to merge the smart card technology, which allows you to do your big banking purchases, and the cash card, which it would mean, say you got down to one card, because this is what we were talking about, David Chom talking about the fact the electronic wallet, one card that does everything. When you get down to that card, it will possibly have two parts. It will have your smart card chip that will allow you to do your transactions with the database out there, if you will, if you're going to buy a car or a house or something like that. But there'll also be a place on that card where you can go in and put it into a machine and have, say, $50 put on it in value. Then you can use that card everywhere, and there's no access to a database. It's just subtracting the money off the card. Now, we haven't seen a lot of these cash cards here in America yet, but they're coming. We were just in Israel, and we had to make some phone calls. And we went to the machine, and there was no place to put any coins in it. So we went to our guide who traveled with us, and she gave us her cash card. And all it is a telephone, Israeli telephone card that you put in the payphone. And each time you make a local phone call on the thing, it starts out that you have 50 calls. And you buy the card, and you pay the fee for 50 calls. And then when you're done, your card now has had one electronically subtracted off it. So when you put the card in the next time, it says you only have 49 calls left to do. As you can see, no regular access to a central database for small transactions that would clog the whole system down. The innovation is coming a long way along, and the desire is to get rid of cash altogether because it's a dinosaur in an electronic age.